everybody, Aiden here with Clean Pro, another episode, and today I'm excited to introduce you to Edwin Eaton. He is owner, CEO of iPro Building Services based out of Wenatchee, Washington, which is about an hour past Seattle. Um, Looking forward to talking with him. He's not only an owner in the commercial cleaning industry, but he also has a software program that helps the cleaning industry with cleaning times and quotes and standards, which we'll get into as well. Edwin, welcome.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better and let everyone know a bit about you. I know we touched on this in one of our last talks, but for the audience's purpose, maybe give us a little bit of background and that, because I always find interesting on the backgrounds of people, because most of us don't grow up to want to be in the cleaning industry. I always think of the Kramer episode.
Right.
He's trying to get away from his ticket, and he always dreamt of being a banker. And no one's always necessarily dreaming to get in the cleaning industry. We usually fall into it. So assuming that happened, although it's not for everybody, how did you fall into it, or how did it become part of your profession?
Yeah. No, in fourth grade, I didn't raise my hand and let the teacher know I wanted to be a janitorial business owner whatsoever. No.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's in early 2000s in college over in Seattle, University of Washington. My college roommate, his uncle actually owned a pretty decent size commercial cleaning company up and down the I-5 corridor, which covers, that whole area over there. And just where our apartment was for college, he had a couple cleaners that quit that took care of 3 or 4 banks in that area. And so he called my college roommate and said, "Hey, can you guys hold the fort down for maybe a week or 2 weeks while I find some cleaners to replace them? It's easy. All you got to do is take out the trash, vacuum. I'll give you the keys, the alarm code, all that kind of stuff." And, as college kids, he was speaking our language when he said he'd pay us with beer money. And so we said, absolutely, let's do this. And I was never a great cleaner whatsoever, but I liked the fact that nobody was overseeing us, and he just kind of put us in that situation. I think that week or 2 weeks turned into three weeks to about a month that we held the fort down. I will say we didn't get one complaint that whole time we were there. But he found some replacements, about a month later, and they took over, and he took us out. We had beers, all that stuff. But down the road, I was going to school for hospitality management to work in the hotels, and that's what I was doing, and that's what my degree is in. And had some, I lived in Wenatchee, which is, about 2.5, 3 hours from Seattle. And I'm an only child. Both my parents had some health issues. And so I always promised them if something was to happen, I would move back home and take care of them. And so that was the case. I had to move back home. And in Wenatchee, the bustling metropolis of 50,000 people, there weren't a lot of opportunities in the hospitality industry for me, making the kind of money I was making in the Seattle area. So I actually reached back out to my college roommate's uncle, and I said, "Hey, I know that you had mentioned when we, filled in for your cleaners way back when, that you thought that there was an opportunity for me to maybe get into this industry. And I'm just trying to look around in the area that I'm in, and I think there's a good opportunity here." And so he said, "You know what? I'd love to bring you on board. I know that I can't afford you, but I can afford you for 1 month. And if you can make your salary back in a month, then let's talk further on this." And so, I'm a sports guy. I'm highly competitive. So I took that as a challenge, and I said, heck yeah, let's do it. And we took off, and I made my salary back in that first month. And we just started to continue to build and grow throughout the area. And then I think at a certain point, we started to butt heads a little bit. I wanted to expand a little bit more. He was kind of unfamiliar with the areas that I was getting into, just because there's a lot of windshield time.
Yeah.
And so we just mutually parted ways. And I just continued to, I started my own company, iPro, and then just started continue from there. So, iPro started in 2011. And so we've been growing and moving ever since. When we first broke off, it was just my wife and myself. And she left a great paying job to kind of do the back end of things. I don't like the paperwork and all that stuff. So she took care of it. It's kind of a long story, but to shorten it up, she never played a sport in her whole life, started playing hockey through some friends from work. She got introduced to corsets, the stuff Kim Kardashian wears and all that.
Okay.
And this corset company said, hey, if you want to sell some of the stuff that we have on eBay, if you want to try that out. And so she did it. Quit the job, was just selling these corsets to help pay the bills for us while I was out hustling and knocking on doors and hitting up all the prospects. But she was able to pay all the bills doing that, through the course of the first couple of years. And then, we're in 2024 now. We have a little over 150 employees, and we're just continuously growing year after year.
That's awesome. It's always nice when your team, kind of like John and Paul, right? Mick and Keith. When you both have distinct roles and you're not button heads, and you don't like to do the paperwork and she does,
Yeah.
that's always nice. Sometimes that's not always the case. So when you first started, um, how did you go about getting your first couple customers? That's one of the things that we really liked finding out on the podcast, because there's so many of the people that watch this, they're starting off,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many different ways and different philosophies and different things, and so everyone has a different way that they started initially grow, to start getting that cash flow in before they, obviously start expanding and getting employees and stuff. So how did you go about getting your sales and getting customers when you really didn't even know what you were doing? You're just kind of starting off. What was your kind of your method there?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'll go back to before starting iPro, because starting iPro, I kind of understood it a little bit,
Yeah.
and I had some contracts, so I had some momentum going. But if I go back to my college roommate's uncle, he just threw me in there, and there was no training whatsoever. It's like, here you go. If you want this to work, you're gonna have to figure this out, because I don't have the money to really put in the training and invest in you. And so, just with the background in hospitality, having the customer service part, really, to me, it's being a people person is half the battle there, and just, going up and talking to people. And so for me, I was knocking on every single door.
Yeah.
I was going down on the main drag in town with my rack cards, my business card, my logo out, apparel. I was knocking on the doors, handing things out. What can I do for you? I don't like to say I'm a yes man, but if there was something that they needed to be done, I would say yes to it, and I would get that done. So in the beginning, it was like, you need cleaning services. Okay, one day a week. Okay, we're going to take care of it. And then maybe in that one day a week, I would notice that they were painting in there or prepping to paint. And I would say, hey, what's going on here? Are you guys painting this wall? Why didn't you ask me? Because we can handle that, even though we didn't at the time.
Yeah.
So they would say, can you do this? Absolutely.
That
And then
is
I
it.
would go, and figure it out.
Yeah.
And so really that's the part, is just going in, asking those questions, knocking on the door. You're just constantly hustling, right? It's a mindset that you have, knocking on the doors to get the business. And then when you get the business, you never know, there's sometimes unlimited other opportunities within that business: carpet cleaning, floor care, window cleaning. And so we just try to hit up as much as possible. Then after, 10, 11, 12 accounts, then, you just continue to go. And, again, I talked, my city that I live in is about 50,000 people. So it's not huge by any means, but there's a lot of opportunity here. But at a certain point, there's only so many big buildings that you can go after. Being in business for so long, I'm not looking at the 1 day a week, 2 day a week, 3 day a week accounts. I'm looking at stuff like 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And so I've had to expand my coverage area. So I go an hour out, I've got manufacturing plants. I go 2 hours out, I've got data centers, I've got medical facilities, all kinds of stuff. And so just over the course of the last 11 plus years, we've just been expanding into different areas, different markets, and opening up shop and planting our flag down in certain areas. And so, we're in the Seattle area. We're not a big player there. I don't think any of the competition knows we're there, but I can sneak in there and do a couple $1 million a year and nobody knows it.
Wow.
I can do the same thing over in Spokane. I can do the same thing in Portland. I can go down to Boise, Idaho. So we're all over the place.
Yeah.
A lot of windshield time in the beginning, to get it going. But again, it's just once you figure it out, knocking on the doors on what to do. It's kind of a rinse and repeat. You're going to go and do that in another area. And so that's been my mentality, my mindset, and that's what I've done when I get into new areas, to kind of break into there, start to grow it, and then maybe we get the sales guys in there after that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so So is that kind of how you became kind of iPro Building Services, not like janitorial? You were starting the janitorial and then you saw someone painting, so you did that, and then you recognized that you're in a building and there's more, you can do more than just the janitorial. Is that how that started, or was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, in the beginning it was iPro Cleaning Services, and we actually did some residential. You can kind of see the logo. We still have a house that's here.
Yeah, yeah.
I kept the logo the same because it's out there and people know what it is now. But I think when you put like cleaning services or cleaning or janitorial in your name, I think that kind of limits you to what type of services that you can offer. Or if somebody's on Google or looking at your website and that's what they see is cleaning services, I think just in their mind, and it's just an assumption that that's what they think, that all you do is cleaning. But when you put something on like building services or building maintenance, that kind of opens it up. So a procurement manager or facility manager is going to see that. And I think that holds more value because building services, it doesn't really tell you all the services that we do, but it could be limitless, meaning something to do with the building. So, here we get snow, so we can plow your parking lots. If you need landscaping, if you need your walls painted, if you need minor handyman stuff. So it just opens the doors for a lot of opportunities for us.
Yeah, I mean that's actually, I mean, really good advice. I was in the early 2000s gonna start my own company, but I had the young kids and all that stuff, so I decided not to do that. But I had going around a bunch of different uh, commercial cleaning companies that I knew of, and letting them know I was thinking about doing this and talking to them. And I always got the best advice I ever got. This guy said to me, "Don't call it janitorial cleaning, call it facility services, building
Mm-hmm.
services, facility service." But he said exactly that. He goes, "You might want to branch out." I made that mistake, so I was always kind of aware of that, and that's great advice for people that are watching this. That are, a lot of people watching this are starting off. They've got a few accounts, what have you. And it's a great thing for to not necessarily pigeonhole yourself. You might stay in janitorial for maybe a year or two, maybe whatever. But
Right.
you're right. If it says janitorial or cleaning, I myself, that's all you do, right?
Yep.
And so that's just a great thing. And it's always like I always think back to a friend of mine got a company in Canada called Jim's Mowing. And one day he said he was going to go do snow removal and put up Christmas lights. And I was like, and that's when I realized it was a landscaping business, right? It was,
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just mowing. I was always, so yeah, so that's great advice. So from sales, you kind of did it, almost like more the traditional, like a lot of people that we've interviewed, they started off with going to a lot of networking events and stuff. They kind of didn't want to, or for whatever reason didn't knock on the doors. So you actually started by actually knocking on the doors and facing massive rejection. Um,
Yes.
Perfect. So you got the business going, and so that's the sales aspect. From a marketing standpoint, what do you do? What does your company do from from a marketing standpoint, from social media to digital marketing? Do you have any things in specific that you're doing that's working and that you found successful?
Yeah. Yeah. If I could go back and do it all over again, I don't think that I would. I think I would keep it the same way that I did it, knocking on doors, because I learned a lot from that process. And I do some consulting on the side as well. And it's good that people are reaching out, finding mentors, because it took me a while to find a mentor to point me in the right direction. But I learned a lot from that. And then now, the focus with marketing, right? That's the big thing with your business. How I call it TOMA, top of mind awareness. We're not, the janitorial industry isn't a sought after industry, right? It's not on the businesses, that's not the first thing they're thinking of. And so, um, what we did a lot is, and you'll see it a lot on social media, and I hate to say it, but I hate to see it too, is when I follow a lot of commercial cleaning company business owners and companies, and I hate it when my feed gets filled up with the before and after pictures of a dirty sink and a before and after picture of a sink, or a before and after photo of a toilet. Like I don't understand that marketing, I
Yeah.
guess. But what has worked for iPro and has worked for me is we're all about our people. So we've created company culture. And really, if you think about it, this day and age that we're in, I mean, the way that the economy is, and people don't really want to work. It's tough to find good workers. And so I guess I would say this was about 4 years ago. just prior to the pandemic, company culture is kind of to me was a buzzword, and I didn't fully understand it. And over the course of the next 4 years, I really dug into it as I started seeing things within the company. So we used to do employee of the month. A lot of businesses do that. It's great. It's recognition. So it started off fine. I said, we're going to start this. We're going to start recognizing our employees. So we're going to start doing employee of the month. We'll put it on social media, whatever it is. It was great for the first couple. Then the next few, they started to quit 3 or 4 weeks after. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. And they weren't telling me why. They just all of a sudden stopped showing up to work, or they just quit, and that was it. And so finally, after one of the last employee of the months that we had, I confronted her because she was putting in her 2 week notice. I sat her down. I said, I just need to talk this through with you. Like, why are you putting in your 2 week notice? You're a rock star. We're making sure that we're recognizing you for this. And, she said, no, that's awesome. I truly appreciate it. The problem is that the rest of the staff resents me because I'm the employee of the month. And I said, well, what do you mean resents you? Because this person or that person feels like they should have got employee of the month over me, because they're working. And she's like, they're working just as hard as I am. And so, you're singling a person out and almost putting a target on their back. And so the resentment was just creating this, culture that just wasn't right. And people were just wanting to leave. So I scrapped it right away. And I said, okay, what back to the drawing board, what can I do to, build this company culture? Right now it's like we've got arcade games in here, we've got a snack bar, we've got a drink fridge and all that stuff, a basketball hoop. That's great, but those are just starting points for your company culture. So I went to the drawing board. I said, okay, maybe we can start celebrating people's birthdays. But then I've got one office where the staff, they don't celebrate birthdays. It's part of their religion. So I said, okay, I don't want the resentment coming from that staff now. I don't want to alienate them. So what can I do? So we started doing recognition for anniversaries, work anniversaries. You can't resent somebody for putting in their time, right?
Yeah.
And so, so we started doing that in same lines of employee of the month. So here's your plaque, here's your gift card. Every year there's different tiers, $100 gift card, up to $1,000 gift card, Apple Watches, a week vacation, plus I'll cover your account for a week when you're there, while you're on vacation. And so that started to catch traction. And then all of a sudden it was, okay, we're going to put you on social media. And then that started to take off. And then, it got to a point where employees knew that their anniversary was coming up. So we were doing, surprises to everybody. We were calling them into the office saying there was an issue at one of their accounts, and they would come in, and then a couple of us would be in the office and say, surprise, happy anniversary kind of thing. But now it's morphed into this thing where, just last week, I had to play catch up to about 15 anniversaries that had been over the course of the last couple months. And so the whole staff comes in and they wait in our little great room area. And when those employees came in, everybody's cheering and saying happy anniversary to them. Like, everybody's getting engaged into this thing, and it's morphed and it's taken on a life of itself. And it was never a thought on social media that that's how we would market our business.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what we do. And so, people that are listening to this, why I said in the beginning, and not to say that it's bad to post before and after photos of a toilet cleaning, right? But if you want to, you want to get to that person, you got to resonate. You got to put out some content that they're going to, to get to know you better, get to know your business better. And so, I deal with a lot of data centers, throughout here in Oregon. And so there was a data center that's about 30 minutes from here. Last 8 years, I could never get the time of day from them. We follow each other on LinkedIn. And over the course of the last 8 years, he's seen our company culture and how we built that. And he reached out to me. This was about late summer last year, and said, hey, I've been following you on LinkedIn. Love what you do with your staff. Love that you appreciate them and recognize them. This is what I need. Let's have you come out here and let's do a walk through the facility. I said, sweet. Nice. So boom, I go out there, and I'm not talking about a small data center. I'm talking about a very big data center, very good money involved here. So I come in, we do the walkthrough, we sit down in the conference room. Again, he reiterates the fact that he follows me on LinkedIn, loves everything on social media that we're doing for our employees. And he says, I love the employees that are cleaning for us. I hate their company. Their
Wow.
company does not take care of their employees like you do. Here's the scope of work. Here is their contract of what they're charging me every single month. I know you're probably going to be a little bit more expensive because you take care of your employees, but here you go. Here's the pricing. The caveat is you're going to keep these employees and you're going to
Yeah.
treat them the way that you show us on your social media. And so I was like, what? Okay. And then, 2 months later, boom, we're in there. No learning curve because we get to keep the employees that have been there
Yeah.
for 10 plus years,
Yeah.
and they love the fact that we take care of them. The employees never had uniforms. We give them uniforms. They're happy, and we're off and celebrating again. And that's what I found out. Again, this wasn't our original marketing plan, but it's morphed into a life of itself. And so we've gotten a ton of business from just celebrating our company culture. And if you go on any of our social media sites from Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you're not going to see a lot of stuff about projects that we're doing. You're going to see our people, and they're all listed there. Even on our website, we have a special tab for company culture, and you'll see all of our people on there. Videos, surprise videos, photos of them, everything.
That's cool, and that's a really good idea. I mean, and it probably helps attract employees too, because they if they see it, or they check you out, they recognize that that you're giving respect and appreciation to, and everyone likes that, right? Who doesn't like that? Um, Now, one of the things you mentioned there, and I wasn't sure when to go there. I wanted to talk about a bit at sales a bit, but you mentioned the walkthrough
Mm-hmm.
and doing the walkthrough, and a lot of people that watch this, like some of the highest rated segments we have is or webinars I do or whatever is on the walkthrough, because there's so many people that are starting off and they kind of shoot from the hip. They look at it. We've had some great people on talk about the walkthrough and how they do it differently. Um, I know you probably started. We'll get into on the clean cinch because of that. I'm assuming. Maybe you can shed some light on that. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, how do you go about bidding, or doing the walkthrough, and what is success? How did you go about doing that, and how are you getting success with the walkthrough?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'll start with it. You've got the two different components. You've got the bid by square foot or bid by the hour kind of thing. And what I tell a lot of people, especially my sales crew now, is that no two buildings are alike, right? They might be the same size, 5,000 square foot for building A and building B. Building A has 200 employees. Building B has 1,000 employees. Which one's going to take longer to clean? Building B, obviously, but per square footage price, it's going to tell you it's going to be the same price
Yeah.
because they're the same size square footage. And so, I tell people it's like the square footage deal just kind of gives you a base point to it. And, on the consulting side, I get a lot of clients that tell me that they bid based on square footage without even seeing the facility sight unseen. And I said, you can't do that. You have to go in there. You've got to have, whatever your walkthrough questions that you have just to kind of see what's there, because you got to know what type of flooring is in there. What's the percentage of hard floor versus carpets, right? How many employees are coming in and out daily? Do they have customers that are coming in and out of there? And just certain things to look for, and questions to ask really make the biggest difference, because it could be the difference of you making money on that account or losing money because you missed something or forgot to ask something or just totally didn't look at the account itself.
Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, and I never thought of that. Never thought of that, although I should have. It makes a lot of sense that, 5,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet, but there's a thousand or a couple hundred employees and 30 in another place. Obviously, the soil load and all that stuff's gonna be a lot different. Um, so I know you do, you started iPro, you built it to what it is, and then because of that, I know you've done you do consulting, but you also
Mhm.
started Clean Cinch, and Clean Cinch. Maybe a little people know why you started Clean Cinch, and how it's helped you and how helps them in the process of getting customers, keeping customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it went from starting iPro to people asking for assistance. So then it morphed into consulting. And then from the consulting side, it was always like, can you help me bid? can you help me put together a proposal? So we created, I created a bidding calculator. I created a proposal template, and they said, this is great. Where's your software? I want to use the software. And the light switch kind of went off there, like, okay, maybe I might be onto something here. And so I found some people, a web development team. I knew nothing about software, but I had this idea in my head. So I kind of put it to paper, talked to the web development team, put it together. And then I met with my management staff, my supervisors. I took all the input that they had. I met with our cleaners. I took the input that they had. What do you guys need in software? In a system, on a mobile app, anything like that, because we've gone through all the software systems and they're all great. They're all great, but sometimes they have maybe a little bit too much or not exactly what you need, right? And so I said, okay, I'm going to tailor this just to my business itself. So what we do on a daily basis. And so that's what we did. And really, what Cinch is, it's not really an all-in-one software system, because there are some stuff like timekeeping and things like that in your financials that really don't need to be in the software, because you're going to use QuickBooks or some time management keeping software. So really, this is your sales and operations piece. And so, from your CRM system, keeping your prospects and customers, all the needed notes that you have. And as far as breaking it down to, who the assigned cleaner is to the account, how many hours a night it's cleaned, how many days a week it's cleaned, adding any pictures, any maps, anything like that into the system. That everybody's got a smartphone. All they got to do is open it up, see the account that they're cleaning, and any information that they need is all right there at the touch of a button. And, where I'm at, it's a lot of Spanish speaking workers that we have.
Yeah.
I don't speak any Spanish. And so it's hard for me to communicate. So we've added the translation piece on there. So from the scope of work to doing work orders, we translate it into any language that you need. But for us, it's Spanish. And then on the sales side of things, when my sales guys come through, because I've got a decent sized sales staff, and I don't like my phone blowing up every single minute of the day, because this guy's got a question, that guy's got a question. And so we've simplified it, and that's just another word what Cinch is. Cinch means another word for simple. And so from the calculators itself, they're going to know based on what they put in, days of the week, how many hours a day, what's the hourly rate. Our calculator figures out, the rest of it, the payroll, taxes, and insurance, your overhead, and your profit percentage, and it's going to spit out a price for you. And we've set the parameters on there, so I don't have to approve a price. I already know that their numbers are going to be legit based on that calculator. And then we took that calculator and we basically made a calculator for floor care work. So stripping and waxing floors, doing carpet cleaning, and it also works for final construction cleaning. So again, my staff just pumps in a few answers in there, and it spits out a number for them.
Wow.
And then we made it even simpler, because there's some systems, when you're putting together your numbers into a proposal, there's kind of some back and forth to different tabs and things like that. So we put together what we created. It's called the create a bid button. And so you just basically hit that button on the system, and it's going to walk you through step by step. You can't skip any of the steps, but it's going to walk you through step by step, from entering the prospect into the system to putting in, what you need to know about how many hours it's going to take each night, how many days a week. Then it's going to take you to putting together a scope of work, and then it's going to combine everything into a proposal for you. And so,
Wow.
So over the years, dealing with a lot of Fortune 500 companies that we have as our customers, with the data centers and things like that, myself and our legal team, is we put in all the verbiage that's needed into a proposal, into a contract. Because back in the day, it was a lot of back and forth. Hey, Edwin, our legal team needs this put into the proposal. Can you do that? So I wanted to eliminate that. So if you're brand new, or even if you're a industry veteran, this is just plug and play. You're just putting in the name of your your prospect. You're putting in your number based on the calculator. You're creating the scope of work. And we used ISSA standards. And so we have about 18 to 20 different types of facilities with all the generalized cleaning for all those areas, from the entry area to the restrooms to the offices, so on and so forth. You'll just choose, like if it's a manufacturing plant, you'll choose that. Scope of work will automatically populate for you. You can add areas, delete areas, add tasks, delete tasks, whatever you need to do. But my sales guys will tell you, from start to finish, to create a full-on proposal, the hardest part is just the scope of work, because there's some intricacies that need to happen there, but they can usually get it done in 5 to 10 minutes is how quickly they're able to put these together. And then the other side of thing is we have proposals and already templates for pressure washing, final construction cleaning, window cleaning, and the floor care. And that's as simple as entering in the customer name and the price, and then everything just populates for you.
Clean, simple, fast, has their logo on it or whatever. I'm assuming everything's
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yep, everything's in there once you set up your profile. And one thing I didn't touch on too is I said sales and operations. So once you have that all set, the scope of work, that automatically gets put into our inspection tab. So your QA, your inspectors, when they go out, the scope of work is right there. So whoever created it, whatever salesperson created it, there's no communication that needs to happen. The scope of work and everything that needs to be done is right there, as well as in the work orders, adding the scope of work to a work order, whatever it is, adding photos there. So we've tried to just simplify the sales and operations process, just simplify it.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds very impressive. I mean, I know we've talked about doing a session in a few months. We'll do a little bit more of a deep dive on that, but um, that's one of the hardest parts with talking with people on the membership site here, is them feeling comfortable on the bidding and
Mm-hmm.
not underbidding. Um, because a lot of them underbid. They end up recognizing, geez, if I wasn't doing the work, I'd be losing money.
Yeah.
And that. So that's a huge tool, and we'll have information on the show notes below. So as we wind down here, just two more questions. Uh, what have you, it's changes, industry trends have you seen? I always like to kind of go, I always think of it, kind of now pre and post COVID. Um, from my own perspective, I thought there was going to be a huge emphasis on disinfecting, and people were going to want to be spend more money and be more focused on the disinfecting. And I'm getting mixed reviews and stuff on that. So I kind of thought it was going to be, it would be COVID would put a more emphasis on that. Um, what changes have you noticed in the industry? What are you noticing out there that people watching this might want to be aware of, that you're noticing as far as changes and the demands of the customer?
Yeah, I think, since COVID, I think cleaning has been put in the limelight more, right? So people, especially this time of year as we get into cold and flu season, we're still getting calls for COVID disinfection sprays because of this. And so, we still continue to do that. I think the trends that are happening now is, I think, given the economy too, because that's a huge piece, is that a lot of facilities are more price conscious. And
Yeah.
so that being said, for iPro itself, it's like, we need to figure out who our target market is. So who are the ones that understand cleaning? They understand that they want their facility cleaned, and they're willing to pay actually what it's worth compared to offices that are just looking for the cheapest price.
Okay.
And usually those are the type of clients we don't like to work with, because you're going to have the most issues. They want Taj Mahal cleaning, but they're only willing to pay convenience store hot dog prices.
Yeah.
That's not what we're looking at. So, we tend to look at, okay, what's the market? So here's the area we're in. What is our target market? So for me, it's like, we have a lot of rivers, a lot of dams. That means power is cheap. So we have data centers galore where I'm at. So that's a top market. We have manufacturing plants galore. So that's a top target. And those are 5, 6, 7 days a week. And those are willing to pay top dollar to get the type of services that they need. So that's what we looked at. And, and for your listeners, if you're new and you're just breaking into it, don't be complacent with taking those 1, 2, 3 day a week accounts. Obviously in the beginning, it's great, but also put some focus onto what's the niche in your area. Like, what are the big, like, I'm in agriculture, but again, data centers, manufacturing plants. So what is it where you're, maybe it's medical, something like that. Kind of look at those, because it doesn't hurt to go after some of the bigger accounts. I mean, the worst thing they can do is tell you no.
Yeah.
But you've got their information. You can just continue to, prospect them throughout the year. But yeah, I mean, it's finding that target market, because at the end of the day, we're all in business. We're all in business to make money. That's the only way to keep going and keep the momentum going. So yeah, just find that target market.
I like that, and I give that a lot of advice as well. Is when you have your target market and you know that customer, you're going to actually become really good at bidding and very good at helping them identify issues that they don't know they have because you know that industry, whether or not you're specializing in dentist or manufacturing or whatever it might be, which is a great place to start. Now, not everyone can do that because they're in smaller areas and what
Sure.
have you, but when you can, for sure. Last question for you. Um, uh, where do you see the industry going? Where's iPro going? What's the next few years look like, both from an industry perspective, but also from your perspective, from your company?
Yeah, no, I mean, just from now, from the last 10 years, I mean, the industry is just it's changed drastically, and COVID threw a big curveball there. If you weren't prepared for it, you probably went out of business, and if you made it through it, you're all for the better. But everybody's talking about robotics and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I kind of see some of that things, those types of things happening in larger facilities. um, I just think right now it's, again, I'm a company culture guy.
Yeah,
And so that's what I focus on. If your people are good, you're going to continue to grow your business because businesses are going to come to you knowing that you've got a good crew. A lot of our people have been here 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And so when they're seeing that in our marketing through social media, are you going to want to partner with a company who's constantly raving about their employees and the tenure of their employees, or you want to go with this brand new company who has a website but an at Gmail address, right?
right.
And so that's kind of how we positioned ourselves, and we just kind of continue to strengthen that. And for us, our turnover is very, very low. And you kind of touched base earlier in the show here that our employees are telling their family members and their friends to come work for us, and so we always have people in the dugout ready to go. And we've talked to other businesses, and the question coming from them is, what happens if somebody quits? What's your plan to make sure that our account gets cleaned? Because our current cleaning company has turnover like crazy,
Yeah.
and so it's having a structure to it. So for us, it's easy. It's like you don't have to worry about it. Our employees have been with us. A lot of them have been with us 4 or 5 plus years. We have quality control inspectors. We have detail cleaners. So somebody's on vacation, calls out sick, or you know, God forbid, quit, we've got the next person to step up that already knows the account that's going to get it taken care of. So you're paying for a service. You don't want to have to worry about it. We're going to take care of it for you.
Yeah, and what keeps coming to mind is I can't remember what book it was, but many years ago I read a book on marketing, and it always stuck with me that in the service industry, your people are your brand, right?
Yes.
Right, and everything from the way they look with their uniform, everything, right? That's your brand, and so when you have happy employees, when you have people that are showing up and then nothing negative can come from that, obviously.
Right.
So that's great advice. Um, now, on the last little question for you is you do consulting as well, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so who's the people watching this? Some people are starting off, don't have a lot of don't have a lot of cash flow, and there's people from all different sides. Um, uh, what kind of advice would you give them if they were if they're hiring you as their consultant? They're trying to get some jobs. They're maybe $10,000, 5 to 6,000, $10,000 a month. They're trying to grow. They're doing the work. What one or two things would you leave us with that they could start doing right now to um, stop treading water and start getting to a higher level that they're all aspiring to be?
Yeah, that's almost what I deal with almost on a daily basis on the consulting side of things, because I'll get new business owners to, my what I like to who I like to work with is brand new up to 5 years in business, because for some reason those people get overlooked. And so I remember what it was like in the beginning. And so I just want to make sure that I give them everything that I learned in the beginning, from all the failures to the successes, to help them out. But what I've learned over the years is, and especially talking to some of the big dogs in the industry now, it's you can act like a big company, even if you're not, just by your website presence itself. So if you can build that, and obviously a lot of them come in and they don't want to be out there cleaning. And I always tell them, listen, you've got to clean in the beginning to learn and understand the business. I'm not saying it's going to be 3-4 years of doing it, but at least a few months so that you understand it. And then what I like to teach them is a hybrid method. And so it's either having your own employees, which I call organic, or having subcontractors. And what I tell them is when you have your subcontractors, they're just other companies just like you that are hungry and maybe struggling to find work. So maybe you don't have to do any of the work. The work that you're going to do is go find those leads, find those accounts, and then pass those on to your subcontractors. And the beauty of it is you're not going to be strapped for cash the way you set up your contract agreements with your subcontractors, just as a national company would do with me or with any of the other companies. And so that's what we really take a look at to help them get a cash flow going in the beginning. And then we help them find leads on what to do, from door knocking to email campaigns, just to cold calling itself. And we help them do that. So I almost have, I may now, but I almost have a client in all 50 states. Wow. And it's different in all 50 states, the pain points that they have. But the one common denominator there is, cash flow and how do I bid and how do I put together a proposal? Those are usually the main pain points. And a lot of them that we've been able to teach them the hybrid method, they're cash flowing now. I tell them when you start a new account, a 5-day-a-week account, you got to get a backpack vacuum, you got to get a mop, you got to get all the equipment and supplies. You're probably looking at $1,000, if not more. And so a lot of them are like, well, I don't have $1,000. Okay, well, let's look at a subcontractor. Let's look at it that way, where they have to have all the supplies, all the equipment. And then, a light switch kind of goes off in their head. Okay, so I can do that. And then once they learn it, like I said earlier, it's just rinse and repeat. And then they're able to do that. And I've shared the stories that I have, down in Las Vegas area, down in Reno area. I have subcontractors down there. I don't physically set foot there unless I'm going to go to Vegas to go have a good time. But that's what I do. 6 hours from here down in Boise, Idaho, I've got a subcontractor, and you build these relationships. It'll help you grow your business. And then eventually, if you want to start expanding into other areas with your own crew, you can definitely do that, knowing that you have at least a base amount of money that's coming in each month from there.
Great advice. And I know I said last question, but I always have the last question. I forgot the last question. What would be, if knowing what you know now, what would be the one thing you would tell Edwin 2011 starting off? What one thing would you wish you had done right at the beginning that you might be doing now? Or what's the one thing that you would do over again and focus more on?
Yeah, I would have actually, instead of digging into this myself, which was great because I learned, but if I could have found a mentor in the beginning. It took me a couple of years to find a mentor, and I did. And I always shout him out on these podcasts, but it was Ed Selkow who I originally got in touch with that really helped me and molded me through this industry. But if I would have found him sooner, right when I started, who knows where I would be now? And that's really the biggest thing is, consultants, mentors, sometimes they cost money, but sometimes you got to spend money to make money kind of thing. And, they're going to set you in the right direction on where you need to go. And, back in when I first started, YouTube was kind of getting going and the internet, there wasn't a whole lot of things about the janitorial industry, but look, you got a podcast that you're sharing knowledge all the time. There's other cleaning podcasts that are out there. There's other cleaning publications that are out there. There's YouTube videos on anything. So you can get your hands on this for free on all kinds of information that you need, that it's going to help you to grow. So, find that mentor, do your research. I mean, it's just going to help you grow your business.
Well, in closing, what's you wouldn't know this, but the last 4 podcasts in a row, I've asked the same question, and every single one of them said the same thing, but differently: getting a mentor. And that would be my advice to me too, because I like to think, oh, I know it, and da da da. You don't know it, right? And someone just got you 1 degree off, right? 1 degree off on course instead of being off course can save you so much time, money, effort, everything, right? And so there's a reason why everyone says that, whether or not they join a mastermind or they get a mentor or what have you. That's the common theme. So that's Interesting you said that because that's the kind of the common theme. So,
Well, and you've got something coming up too, a mastermind that you've got going, and there's networking events, that you can be a part of and just learn and network and meet other people in the industry that you never know who you'll meet that could help you out and help you grow your business.
1000%. And yeah, so and we're working on a few things with Clean Pro on that. So we'll announce some stuff in the coming months. Um, So, hey, thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah.
It's always I'm always inspired when I see people that have started their businesses and have grown it to what you've grown it to. You're in multiple regions, I think even multiple states.
Mhm.
You've got the clean cinch. You're doing the consulting piece. Um, so. I've heard nothing but great things about iPro. Have not heard nothing but great things by Clean Cinch and Clean Cinch. Just to kind of circle back to that for a quick sec, that's relatively new, right? You started that in June or July, and it's just skyrocketing.
Yeah, middle of July. I
No,
mean, we've had it going within my business for the last couple of years to
yeah.
really try it out, and it's helped grow our business, year after year. But yeah, it's been out since July. It's not a big fancy software platform, but it gets down to the points that you need. Again, sales and operation, and those are the pain points that everybody has: bidding and proposals and work orders and inspections, and it's got it all built into one for you.
Well, I'm looking forward to. I know we've talked. We're going to do a thing in the new year on the walkthrough, and we're going to have you and Clean Cinch on there and show people on how they can save time and that. So, Edwin, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for giving us your knowledge and how I know in today's day and age it's pretty easy, but where can people find you?
Really, best part, is LinkedIn, and you can
Yeah.
see everything that iPro's about. iPro, our website's worryfree.cleaning. And then if you are interested in Cinch, it's cleancinch.com.
And the links and all that will be down in the show notes. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching Clean Pro. We've been talking with Edwin Eaton with iPro Building Services based out of Wenatchee, Washington. And until next time, be safe.
Thank you.